What's going on, y'all? It's J Smo Reviews here, back at it again with another video, man. Bringing you guys yet another recap, and this time for TBL's Exodus event. And this card went through a lot, especially on this last week leading up to it, whether it was the critiques about the promo. Card damn near lost as many battles as it had announced to begin with. Obviously, the first two battles ended up being removed to accommodate the main event with Easy versus Twerk. Then you lose that. Then you just lose A-Ward and Jay the Nightwing. I guess Jay said he's got the flu or he's sick. And that was my battle of the night pick. So card lost a lot, especially at the last second. So it had all the marks, all the signs that it could be a disaster. And I'm going to tell you right now, it wasn't. There's going to be some key things we talk about. I didn't love everything about the event, but it's definitely one of those things where there was a good recovery. They did the best with what they had left. And I think and we'll talk about it more, I'm going to talk about TBL and kind of my opinions on how they've been moving, especially as 2025 goes on. But if this card, if we didn't know the battles before got removed and had those higher expectations, if the card we got today was the card that was on paper, a little bit of a smaller scale but still important event, I think it would be received even better, and there's still been some pretty good reception for it. Artists just showed up for the most part. They made it very watchable. I mean, the event was done basically in 3 to 4 hours. Like, you could sit down, watch it, and then, like, go do other shit with your day. Go talk about the event more, and then go do other shit with your day. So it's unfortunate how we got here, but the runtime made this a very enjoyable watch. And it's not like every battle was fantastic. You know, there is some standouts. There's some lower points of the night, but no flat out just disasters. So I'll give my whole rundown of all the battles, just everything, and how I felt about Exodus. And the opening battle, as expected, was Los Preem versus Elijah Straight. Unfortunately, I missed the whole first round of this battle. I had bought the pay-per-view on RapGrid, and anyone knows there's like the green box that says purchase pay-per-view. Once you bought it, it gets like grayed out and it says access pay-per-view. And I'm trying to like load to get to that screen to get like the link in the bottom left corner. By the time it actually like lets me watch it, I've missed that round. But from what I caught the second and the third, this looked to be a good battle. Everyone else told me it was a good battle. You know, I watched most of it. I thought it was good. I just can't give a call without watching the first round. But the second, I gave to Elijah Straight, very good. And Los had a good round too. Slight, what I thought was a stumble. He actually tweeted at me that he almost passed out, so it wasn't really losing his memory. He was almost losing consciousness. But Elijah just had a better round. I mean, I had said when it comes to like the Eunices, the Preems, the Appas, these like very heralded new guys, Elijah's class, since like UM4 was a little bit ago, doesn't get like put in these same convos. We're kind of over some of those talents, but Elijah can write with any of these guys on any given day. So in the second, he was just better than him, but it was a good round from both. And then in the third, particularly in the second half of Los's third, I gave him the round clear, but it was probably my favorite round. I watched the battle. When he got into the religious bars, which of course you're going to hear against a Christian rapper, but his were like very creative. The whole saying Elijah had basic material was something like Jesus walked on water, even your idol is surface level. Like, that was nuts. So I had it 1-1 from what I watched, but it looked to be a battle that like ended up accomplishing what both of them needed. Los goes on TBL, you know what I'm saying, shows out on a different league, knew he'd be comfortable there, but you know, he just adds it to the resume. He absolutely was. And then for Elijah, he's been doing good on TBL. He stays getting booked there. And after the battle, he called out JC, Chess, Fonz, and Hansel. I really like Elijah Straight versus Hansel, and they have a little bit of a grudge. They went back and forth. I'd love to see that. And if Elijah knocks out the park, then I think getting one of those three battles, maybe even on one of TBL's bigger cards as an opener, like a Elijah versus a JC, makes complete sense to me. But good look for both battlers from what I watched, and when I go to watch that first, I'll have like an official final call on how I saw it. From there, we get into like one of the first, I think, big storylines of the night, which was Saga versus Av. And this was like the Saga versus J2 pivot, where Av ended up stepping up, had a couple weeks to write, and I was very, very confident in my call in this one, where I had Av winning. And I had said going into it, it would take something like Saga turning the clock back to like Sensei Saga, his, I guess what you'll say, his prime run, like right around when COVID started and towards the end of it, where he's battling top names, like just giving some of his best material. And even then, it could be an uphill battle, because Av had not clearly lost a battle in years. I just didn't think Saga would be the person to do it. Well, I was fucking wrong about that, huh? Because this battle played out. I mean, Saga won. Saga won very clear and really dominantly, if you want to be specific about it. I will say the battle started out about how I thought it was gonna. I thought Saga was solid in the first. I don't think he was great. I didn't know there was greatness yet to come later in his performance, but I thought he was respectable, and versus other battlers it would be enough, but I just knew against Av probably wouldn't be enough. And Av wraps his first, little bit of a slow burn in the beginning, and then he gets to landing back to back. His energy is there, his pace is there, the haymakers are building up, so there was a point where it was 1-0 Av and he was still wrapping. So I'm like, well, Saga was pretty good, but it just really didn't matter. And that's how I saw this battle going. So I had it Av 1-0, you get into the second, and then Saga gets to angling in the second. And for those that didn't see, I feel like some of you were privy to this, but there was going to be a card in Virginia. Concrete Kings is Av's league. He was going to like partner up with another league and do like different parts of VA battling each other. It was like Wusa, Jay Moore, him versus Jack Boy. And then that card fell through, and as much for in terms of what I'm hearing and what I've seen, that's on Av, like not paying his guys the side of however that event was supposed to be set up. So Saga used that as an angle against him, saying he's not putting on people from VA properly. Just the whole way he did that, it was like a twist from just the punching from both of them in the first, and it was very, very good. So the pressure was on Av, where it's like, damn, Saga took a step up from his first. Av raps for a good little bit in the second. There's some good content. He's building up, and he chokes. And, you know, I had never seen Av choke until this year. He choked against Wusa earlier in the year. It's the first time I ever saw him choke in a battle. And that versus Wusa really seemed like he lost his place. Like, something happened reaction-wise, he just blanked. This battle, he just didn't seem prepared. And he chokes in the second. He gets it back. He chokes again. Cleared in the second round. You get to the third. Saga's third is better than his second. So now Saga is wilding by the time we get to this third. Like, this is like a performance that's getting better every round against one of the hardest guys to beat. Hasn't lost a battle clear since 2021. And then Av goes to wrap in the third. He chokes basically instantly. And that's what I'm saying, the difference between this and the Wusa battle. Wusa battle, I think he lost his spot. It can happen to anyone. This battle, it's really the first time in Av's career that I can look and be like, oh, he wasn't prepared. Like, he just didn't have his wraps down at all for multiple rounds. So Av goes from only choking once in his career to choking twice within this battle. And Saga, you know, some people were even arguing the first. Like I said, I pretty clearly gave it to Av, but Saga clearly wins the second and the third. So that's a shocker of the night right there. I did not have Saga beating Av. I didn't think it was impossible, but I thought it was highly, highly, highly unlikely. And this is interesting. And now, I'm not going to act like the sky is falling for Av because he has one performance like this. Many events have had much more. This is a guy who's been ridiculously A+ consistent. But pair it with some of the events recently, the VA card, which that falling apart, what Saga talked about. Few battles he's backed out on this year. Him and Swave, him and Chilla Jones, him and Jack, obviously, for that card that fell apart. Him and Loso seem to talk like they've about to get set up but didn't get set up. So I don't know what's going on with Av there, where, you know, he's also definitely not known for like just backing out of cards like that. So for that to happen, he's choking a bit more. I don't know, are we about to head into a little bit of like a lull for Av after so many years of consistency? Incredible streak of not losing clear for all those years, but you know, when it does happen, you have to face at least some criticism. And then for Saga, he's having an underrated year. You know, he just beat Danny on TBL. It was a good Danny too. He beats Av in this battle, which was not expected. People have been giving Steam some love this year. Saga kind of whooped on him earlier in the year. I just see what's happening, and this win, which was by far his biggest, is like really awoken me to the fact where I'm like, damn, this is like a resurgence year for Saga. This is like the better collection of wins he's put together since that kind of Sensei Saga period. So crazy result. Saga 2-1 clear, and for me, like one of the bigger takeaways from the event. So then we have the next two battles of the event, which technically, like in comparison, would be the low of the event, but I don't think that either of them were just ass or bad battles. Maybe a little boring at times. Definitely some of them will come and go or just kind of exist, but I wouldn't say like just bad. So Bonnie and Fendi, it exists. It is just a decent battle. And going into it, I had Bonnie winning, and I think that's just how it played out. And it's her consistency. You know, I had said Fendi can reach moments of having better material, like she has a pretty good pen, but it's about staying clean or just staying like fluid, for the lack of a better term. And as the rounds went on, Bonnie was about as good from the first as she was in the third. Like, not special, not crazy or stand out, but just solid. Fendi's material in the first is very good. Like, I have her winning the first was a good statement. You get to the second, the third, she doesn't choke, but she cuts her round short. Like, her third, she cut like 70, 80 seconds. So probably to avoid choking, she cut her rounds that short. But overall, you know, that's going to lead to Bonnie, who just stayed consistent, weathering the storm. So I had Bonnie second and third. Battle just kind of exists. You know, it's nothing crazy. And then you have Shotgun Suge versus Marv 1, which is similar, maybe a tad bit better, but with some bigger flaws. First round of the battle, they both start slow. I'm not a fan too much of either of what Suge or Marv did in the first. Both a little bit stumbly too. I gave it to Marv because he had better content. I'm seeing some people call that a debatable round. I gave it to Marv pretty clear on first watch, but I'm not like mad at it because I guess no one really made like super clear separation. I was pretty unimpressed, and I was worried this battle could be a little So when it started like that, that did not help my worries whatsoever. But as the battle goes on, Suge has a really good second, and Marv has a really good third. So there is points here where they kind of peak. Suge in particular was like funny as hell. He kept saying that Marv had cakes in his pockets, like full fucking cakes, which is ridiculous. Couple great bars to start the round too that were like genuine haymakers. So he had a better round than Marv in the second, just is what it is. And then in the third, Suge has a short third. He kind of had shorter rounds the whole battle. This is definitely a to the time limit Suge. But it was okay for the amount that he did rap. Marv goes and he actually gets into a bit of a Detroit angle, which I think is, for as many times as we've heard this with Suge, especially against battlers from Michigan, with Suge and Cal, like kind of trying to get this this rematch, maybe in Detroit to kind of get some momentum or get people behind it. I think revisiting this angle now, you know, it's currently like kind of relevant. So Marv goes and says that Suge still isn't good in Detroit, and he's actually executing it really well. Marv's third, his material is clearly better. And on first watch, I gave it to Marv. I will say though, he had a bar that like Quest finished before he finished, like in his entourage, trying to, you know, hype up the punchline. And Marv says on camera, like, you made me lose my spot. Like, I'm about to fuck up. You made me lose my spot. And then he goes to this stumble, run it back, get to one bar ahead from the stumble, and then stop rapping for like 5 seconds. I'm not mad at anyone that calls it a choke. It was very borderline because he was doing vet moves to try to like mask it up, but he definitely lost his spot for a second. He got it back. He had much better material, and it was right on the border where, if I'm not saying it's a flat out choke, even if it was like a hard stumble, he was just that much better than Suge. But if someone views that as a choke, and maybe if I do rewatch it, I'll like kind of like count it up and be like, oh nah, like even though he was much better in the third, if you choke, you lose the round. So there's an argument for Suge 2-1 in my opinion in the second and third, but I had Marv first and third, and like I said, no bad battles on the card in my opinion, but this one was just kind of decent. And that leaves you with the last two battles of the card, and this to me really carried it. And going into the event, I had said A-Ward J, Easy Twerk, John Swamp, Rex and Snake. That would have to be like the real good part of the card. Even though you lost two, the two that remained did their job. And the thing about both these battles, and with Swamp and John, the one we're talking about, some real tension. Like, it felt like a real grudge match. You know, there was, and it slight almost scuffles, but not enough that it truly derailed the battle, just kind of added that animosity to it. So you start on the first round, Swamp takes a more like just talking to John approach. He's kind of going over everything on John's name recently. Bullpen falling apart, especially with Clone and Bad News and the way that they kind of fell out of battle rap. Pause, of course, the whole baby mama situation, which he brings up a lot. He talks about it all 3 rounds. I got a little tired of it as the battle went on, but it's really Swamp, not as much punching. You know, he's kind of rapping through it with no reaction, but the content of his first I actually liked. By the end of his first, the whole Ginger to Cinnamon Bar, I thought was a crazy haymaker, and he picked up from there. But even before, even though it wasn't, like I'm saying, punch heavy, not a lot of reaction, I liked it. It set the stage really well, and I thought set like a good tempo for the first round. So I liked Swamp's first, but then John John goes, and we got a very good John John performance. I was worried going in after the Fonz battle, which wasn't a good performance, and we hadn't heard from him. With all the things going on, which Swamp is mentioning in his first, where is John John's mental? But clearly it was locked in on this battle. It has been booked for some time, so that could play a part in it. But I like John John's first. He definitely outwrote Swamp in the first. I don't know, strategy-wise, he had some angles of his own, a little bit of counter-writing, but I think the writing itself, the creativity was kind of the difference. So it's a debatable first round. I'm not mad at someone giving it to Swamp, but I gave it to John John and had him up 1-0. But then you get to the second round, kind of the same thing, and both of them got better in the second round. So if they're already fire in the first and they take a step up, that goes to show you this is already looking to be one of the better battles on the card so far. Really like what Swamp did. You could debate if his second or his third or his best round, but he was crazy. He was consistent. He was mixing in a little bit of the writing, but of course it's going to be drug talk. It's going to be real life talk. It's just the type of talent Swamp is. And then John John, who's also an all-around talent, it just gives you a chance to look at a bunch of different ways to be great at battle rapping. These guys aren't set in one style. They use a bunch of different type of methods and facets of the game. The second is really close to me too, but I edge Swamp the second. So the first two, the battle overall kind of feels tied, right? But I had it 1-1 with them splitting the rounds. And then the third round to me is the clearest round of the battle. I had Swamp winning the third. He stayed at the same pace as his second. I feel like John John, who I think even tweeted, like, they fucked up my 30 or something like that. He just had a weaker round. Wasn't even a bad round. It was a pretty good round in my opinion. But that's where they had their almost little scuffle. John John, not even like a bar, but just a quick mention about Swamp's friend that just passed away. So that they got over that real quick. Security broke it up. I think it was just Debo or whatever. But took a little bit of momentum from John John's third. So I had Swamp third clear, only clear round of the battle, and second edge, so I had him winning 2-1. But if somebody has John John first and second, I'm not mad at that. Kind of like how I said about Elijah and Preem, but on a different tier, a different level. It's a very good look for both battlers. I think Swamp is really closing out this year well. Talking about retiring, he was being inconsistent. But on TBL, chess battles fire, hollow performances fire, John John battles fire. So he's ending it the right way, if he is ending it, at least for 2025. And then John John right back on the board. Fonz is a tough opponent. First time facing those angles on a gnome stage, and Fonz is one of the best of this year, just one of the best in battle rap. So turns out that just happened to be a tough loss and a tough matchup. Right back at it with the Swamp battle. So extremely debatable, in my opinion, the battle of the night, and a good look for both of them. And that just leaves you with the last battle of the night, upgraded from co-main event to main event. T-Rex versus Snake Eyes. And even though I knew it being in New York was the perfect place for it and it had the ingredients to be a good battle, the promotion of the battle worried me a little bit. It was just under-promoted, and then when they finally did the face-off a couple nights ago, Rex was good, but Snake was pretty timid. Like, there was just things where the energy was off for me, where a battle like that that's booked for shit-talking didn't have that vibe going into it. But the way that John John and Swamp right before it was, you could feel the tension. It was a bit of a grudge match. You did get that with this battle, and I can say this is a very good battle as well. I'd still go with John John and Swamp as battle of the night. I wouldn't really be mad if someone said Rex and Snake, though. Like, that's how impressive it was. Started right from the first round. The coin toss was off camera, but Snake chose to go first. Thought that was a little bit weird considering it's Rex in New York. Like, it's going to mean a lot in this battle to have the last word or be the last impression on the audience. But Snake's first is fire. Snake's first is very good, very tailored round. He's rapping straight through it. He's not getting a ton of love in the first. We'll talk about people's opinions on the crowd when we talk about Rex's first, but I still think it was fire. Speaking directly to Rex, and it's about the energy, like the tone that Snake sets with the rapping ability and barking, like right in Rex's ear. This is the battle for that. You know what I mean? So to come out the gate and set that energy, that's what we came here for. That's what you're giving the fans. I can't ask for more than that. So I thought Snake's first was good, but like a patented Rex first, and you know what I mean when I say that, could beat it. Well, we got a patented Rex first, in my opinion. And I think a couple bars he landed early, the Medusa bar, and then after, which I thought was fire, after the Medusa bar was the Centipede bar, where he said, "We send the peas, centipede." And that's where some of the claims for gas started coming up, because I will say, you can't say 70% of the word centipede and it just means that. Like, he completely forgot, like, a syllable within that word. But I also don't think, off rip, people being like, it's gas and it's not fair, this and that. It happens a lot with snake battles, man. Especially in New York, we can't be you guys can't coddle him like that. Like, Snake had a fire first. Maybe he deserved a little bit more love, but Rex deserved a lot of that reaction, because then from there, he has the no wonder snakes shed. They don't feel comfortable in their own skin. That was fire. Some of the eye flips were funny, but I thought his grandma will see a tear come out, a well eye, kind of a flip on abuela. Little bit, Ricci, but I thought that was fire too, to be honest with you. And then he had the SSI bar, which was funny. The ad-libs in between. There's also the things that aren't on paper. The charisma Rex is rapping with, how he's performing his bars. I just thought he had a better first round. If anything, maybe this would be the round for debate. I still pretty clearly gave it to Rex, but as you can hear, still impressed and liked what Snake did, and then he upgraded on that in the second, and you could really debate that Snake's second is the best round of the battle. I don't know if it was in the first or in this round. I think it was in this round, but he brought back some of the flow pockets from the text battle. Like Sego's a loser, Sego's manure. Like, he brought that back, but it didn't feel too forced or anything. I don't know if he'd get away with that every battle, but he had the flow pockets. He was bombing on them. The real talk had jail talk, drug talk in there. Like, it's Rex versus Snake. This is the battle for all that. And this is where he really answered the call. This is the biggest battle of Snake's career. I've been saying this is kind of the end game battle for him. This is not a guy that'll probably get a Lux or a Mook. So Rex, especially with the Dot Mob affiliation they had, the backstory, and then the fact Rex is a legend and doing very good in battle rap right now, all those things made it a moment that Snake has to show up for. And his second is example of, like, being the best in your biggest battles. That's what you're going to ask for. And I don't have Snake winning a lot of battles versus top tiers, right? I had him losing to Rock. I had him losing to Nitty. I got him losing to Twerk. And we'll talk about this battle. Those are some of his bigger battles, but he's fire in them. Like, more times than not, those are still some of Snake's best performances. So, no difference here. Rex's second is cool. I don't think it's ass, but he clearly lost the second. There's no debate there. So, Snake wins the second. I had Rex in the first. It comes down to the third. And the thing is, Snake starts, right? And I thought he was a little indirect. I know he took some time to shoot at A-Ward and Loso. There wasn't, like, the same structure, I felt like, as the first two. He lands the Hulk Hogan haymaker. And it's like, okay, maybe he turns up from here. But then shortly after, I won't say, like, it was messy or it looked like he was going to choke, but he cuts the round. It's a short round, especially compared to his other two, and where the battle was at. It's kind of the worst time I felt like to have maybe your shortest round of the battle. Seemed like it could have been that way by design, and it wasn't bad, but Rex goes in the third, and Rex probably, I won't say it was his weakest round in comparison. I like his third better than his second, but it's not as quotable as the other two rounds. It doesn't maybe have those same peaks, but still enough. He had a couple good bars in there. He's keeping the energy up, maybe even a little bit more than Snake did late into the battle, and still has a bunch of confidence performing up there. So for me, and mainly because Snake cut the third short, I bet if he rapped a bit longer, especially if it was anything like his first or his second, I think that round was for the taking for Snake, but it just didn't go quite that way, and that's why I have Rex clearly taking the third. I know I kind of said the same thing about the first, but there's more of probably, like, things that you could talk about in there since I really like Snake's first. I just don't think he gave himself enough material. And I see some people arguing this round for Snake. It might be the momentum of his second and the fact that it's it's not Rex's biggest battle, it's Snake's biggest battle, and he's showing up and doing his part for it. He's the one with the most to gain, so maybe that hype and adrenaline of this being one of his best performances, fans just kind of give him the third, because I just don't know how you can watch that round and say that's the one Snake won. I'm not mad at anyone giving Snake the battle either. I'm seeing people say Snake first and second, and I'm not all that mad at it. I just had Rex in the first and the third round of the battle. I thought it was a good Rex performance. And, he had just battled Steams the night before. I thought he was like, I thought he was solid, but there was definitely room for him to be better. The Snake performance was better than that one. So how about that? Back-to-back 3-round battles in 24 hours for T-Rex in vastly different settings as well. And I had him being the winner, but as I said, I think at the very start, another one like John and Swamp and like Elijah and Preem, where both sides won. And if you're Snake, you have to be happy about this one. I think I saw a headline from 15 Minutes of Fame. He feels victorious. I might have not called it that way, but with this type of performance in this type of moment, he deserves to have that feeling. And now when Snake, he had called out Loso and Ward, wouldn't be mad at him versus Loso with the good years both of them have had. And considering how good Swamp was on this card, I think I'm ready for Swamp versus Snake, guys. I would like that before the year goes out. Another genuine grudge match could have similar energy. And if they both rap the way they just rapped on Exodus, the battle could be just as good, if not better, than both of the battles they put on tonight. And that is my full recap for TBL's Exodus event. I liked it, especially with them like dropping the price down to 30 after those battles ended up not going down for it. I think this was very much so worth my $30 and a good recovery from what was just a shitty situation that was definitely, they said at first, those first few battles that got knocked off, that was out of their control. That wasn't true. These last two battles, though, definitely out of their control and more effective to the card as a whole. So for them to still have a good event, love that venue, by the way, that they had in Times Square. Like the look, obviously Avo is amazing, the best in the business at shooting pit style battles, but the lighting, kind of the energy of it, I wish, that's the problem, is that it's still a good event, but with the expectations, with the other two battles that would have been maybe even better in that setting, or, those two grudge matches at the end that could have led up into an even the biggest grudge of the card with Easy and Twerk. What could have been is amazing, but what we got was still good. So I thought TBL recovered pretty well there, and we'll just have to see where they go next, how they close out the year. And with all that being said, I want to know your guys' opinions in the comment section down below. I know Rex and Snake is going to be kind of the talk of the night. That and John and Swamp. Please let me know how you feel about those battles. Do you think they're as good as I thought they were? How did you call the winners? Do you think it's a good look for all of them? Who should they battle next? I love that question. And as for the rest of the card, where do you see Av going after this loss? And where do you see Saga going next? Because I could only see him keep getting big plates. They kind of asked him, Frozen Bros on commentary asked him, do you want to go back to the J2 battle? He's like, after an Av win, he could send me an email. I might answer it. It sounds funny, but fuck yeah, bro. You just cleared Av. You better go ask for another top tier. But in any of the other performances of the night, please let me know your guys' opinions on any part of the event. And it's been J Smo Reviews again here, y'all. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'm going to catch y'all in the next one, man. Peace.